And we are on. Thank you so much and welcome to
How you doing there, sweet Danni J?
Hey Key Sweat.
Here we are again.
Hey everybody, we are doing the our rendition of Fireside. Is it Fireside Manor?
Yeah, I guess, but
Fireside Chat.
my fire went out, but
Did it?
it did.
I really didn't even notice.
But we are in front of the fireplace, so we're fireside.
We are Fireside blazing bright. That's all I got right now.
Okay.
That's but everybody, it's another episode of Simple Things About Style. If you hear a little echo, we are definitely going to get rid of this.
Really? Woo-hoo.
We are really getting rid of this if we have an echo. We have upgraded, if anyone has noticed.
It's beautiful.
We have upgraded, and
Good
so
job, sweet Danni J.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So many great things have happened to the Keith Sweat. I was on my reading thing this morning, and I seemed to see someone I spy with my little eye. Someone in a magazine.
Oh, did you see it?
I did see it.
Oh my gosh.
That is so awesome and
It's cool,
so
isn't it?
amazing.
And it's great. And you got a little mention
We
too.
did, we
Yeah,
did. So
excellent.
we really appreciate Sweet Dr. Danny. But we're really excited, everyone. One of the things that we're trying to do more of is just expand. And so, as always, we want to catch up and find out what is going on with the Keith Sweat now. I know you are busy.
Oh my gosh, it has been such a wonderful blessing. It just keeps going and keeps going, and I've actually, I mean, I want to maintain I want to be humble and thankful to God for everything that's happening, because it's not happening without Him. But I actually had to turn down work this week.
Isn't that a blessing?
I had to cancel an appointment that I had for Sunday because I got this other huge job with a local municipality here on a certain project that I really can't go into details about at this point. But it has to happen so quickly that my time, whatever spare time I have, has to be totally focused on that project.
Wow.
And so I had to call the customer and say, I am so sorry, but can we please start your project in December?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I just told him, I said, I understand if you need to find another designer to work with, but I'll touch base with you over the next few weeks and just see how everything's going with you. And if you still want to get together in December, let's do that. So that's sort of where we are with things. How about you? How's your week been?
It's always a blessing to turn stuff down.
Yeah, it is.
I'd rather turn stuff down than not have enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
So basically, with me, everything is progressing. Like the show is going good. It's going very, very well. And Joe Weeks did the episode last night with me.
How did it go?
It went phenomenal. My dad actually said that people aren't going to like me because, I let all sweet Danni J hang out last night. Like, it really was like a sight to behold. We're talking about different issues. I mean, we're talking about real life issues. And I had to voice my opinion, like a sweeter point of view. Really, I wanted everyone to understand that I wasn't against a certain lifestyle, but I did want them to understand that sometimes you got to push yourself to want better.
Right.
And when you get complacent in just the way things are, if you don't push yourself, you are basically setting your children and your children's children up to follow behind you.
It becomes a generational thing.
Exactly, generational cycle. But what I wanted to do to talk to you about today is all of these fads that are going on today with framing. Now, you did a lot of things with Mirror Mate, and we'll get in that in a minute, especially about your interview. with Southern Journal.
Journal magazine, yeah.
Southern Journal magazine. I knew I had it, but every now and then, old folks kick in.
Great magazine, and let me tell you what, I wish we could talk about it, but there are some things happening with that magazine. So just for us to be mentioned and be part of it, with me knowing what potentially is going to happen with the magazine in the next month or so, is going to be very, very exciting.
That's exciting all in itself. You kind of want to make sure that people stay in the know about the different things that are going on.
Right.
Southern Journal, you have been around and been a proud supporter of Southern Journal magazine since just about conception.
Well, it initially started as H Magazine. The first owner was named Darren, and he started the magazine, and he had several magazines in the South Atlanta area. He had a Conyers magazine, he had a Noonan magazine, a Fayetteville magazine, and then he basically, when the economy crashed in '08, so did his business, because everything was so builder and construction oriented around in these parts that just about, so many subsidiary businesses just fell to the wayside during that time. I'm so thankful to still be around. But
we are too.
Yeah, thank you.
We are so thankful that you're still around.
Then Doug Oates, who had a graphic design and marketing company, worked with the hospital a lot here with Henry Medical Center. He bought the magazine, and then shortly thereafter, Lisa bought the magazine and ran it as H Magazine quite successfully. But she wanted to broaden the perspective of the magazine and not just be locked into Henry County, but how does Henry County and its neighboring counties deal with Southern Atlanta issues?
Right.
And how do they help each other? And how there's so much interaction. So many people that live in Henry County work in the adjoining counties, and so many people that live in the other adjoining counties work in Henry County. So, and politics, and how do we discuss and manage our water resources?
Right.
As a group of surrounding counties and neighboring counties. So, in Lisa's infinite wisdom, she expanded the magazine to Southern Journal magazine, and everything from a political perspective to a municipality perspective to human resources to social issues. All of this she addresses in the magazine about all of basically under Atlanta, the crescent part of Atlanta, and it's really turning into quite the magazine and getting a lot of attention, as I hope we will be able to discuss one day in the future. And it has a lot to do with that little soiree that you and I are going to on Monday that we really can't talk about right now.
I have to tell you about the shoes, though. I went and got me some shoes. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you can do whatever you want to do, but if you don't have your shoes together, you can wear all black.
Uh-huh.
And you have some shoes, that whole outfit begins to talk to people.
There you go.
That's what I want to do. I want to talk to people. I want to find a way to cross my legs and sew out my shoes.
Well, you and I are going to be, we sort of got into the party. We're going to be working the registration table a little bit, and then we're going to go hang with everybody. So.
I'm fine. You know what? And sometimes I look at everything, and I prayed a lot, and I was just really grateful and thankful for the opportunity. Uh-huh. And I said, Lord, you know what? We will be the first face that everyone sees when they walk in.
Yeah, that's right.
Why not be at that table?
There you go.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's everything in how you look at it. Now, what I want to ask you about as far as framing, because we're talking about the history of Southern Journal and just things growing.
And my connection with the framing industry, of course, is that I own G Gallery Custom Framing.
Yes.
Located on the square in downtown McDonough at 10 Macon Street. And my website is ggallerycustomframing.com. You guys just go to it. There's a place to fill out a little screen, send me comments, questions, whatever you would like to do, and I'll be glad to take care of you. But that's, we've been doing this show for a little while, and we never really have had a show dedicated to talking about framing, have we?
We have not. We've talked about painting.
We've
talked about everything.
Every aspect of interior design that you could possibly imagine. And somehow I know you're going to swing me back to that dead subject I can't stand to talk
Oh,
about.
I can't wait, but I'm going to get you started on that.
And then for all the little children sitting underneath the tree with it, and I'm going to really enjoy that topic.
Oh, I can't wait. We're going to fit that in a second. If everybody sees me on my phone, I'm trying to do something different. They know that people know me, and they know I can't talk and type in text. So soon we're actually going to be incorporating a Jewel, and her name is Jewel.
Excellent.
And she is going to be helping with our promotion. She'll sit back and do the hashtags and the promotions of everything. So you won't have to sit back and watch me with my mouth open trying to type and spelling out the word as I do it. And also, if you see me with my phone, I am constantly on our G Gallery Custom Framing Facebook page.
Yep.
And so we're uploading and we're finding out, what you're talking about and your questions and, just really interacting with everybody while we are doing the show live.
That's right.
So, but what I wanted to talk to you about and just get started with us and our audience today are framing trends. Did you know that a frame can make or break an image, a picture, a photograph, or however you want to refer to it? It can make or break the total decor and atmosphere in your home or business or wherever you're going. And so I wanted to talk to you first about maybe like some framing trends that are now happening in today's, or that you see, more and more.
Well, I mean, framing, custom framing is nothing but an extension of your furniture. I really feel that. Now, it has a lot of other dynamics, as in when you're picking a good sofa, you have to worry about texture of the fabric, colors of the fabrics. Does it sit right? Is it comfortable? Do you want to hide a bed in it? Do you want this kind of shape, like a sectional? Do you want just a traditional sofa? Do you want a 2-cushion? Do you want a 3-cushion? Do you want a solid back? There's a lot of variables in picking a sofa, as there is with framing. And the most important thing, of course, is what you are framing. And you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is appropriate, that not only in presentation of the item, but in proper care of the item. So with all that said, let's talk about the fun stuff about framing.
Okay, let's start with the fun, and then we got to deal with the maintenance and the stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I could go on and on about all that, but the fun stuff, there is just so much out there. I mean, I have very traditional moldings, and molding is what the frame is made of. Okay, that's the wood part. And again, that's another good point, is I only deal with all wood molding. There are less expensive, lower quality products out there for molding in like polystyrene and plastics and things like that, which make the frames much less expensive. In fact, I was over at a client's house today, and she brought in a frame to me that was busted.
Oh.
And it was one of those frames that was made out of compressed paper, and it was finished. And it looked exactly like any other frame would.
Right.
But it was busted.
Now, when you say busted, are you
It had fallen off the wall.
Oh, like literally busted.
And the corners had snapped in half, which happens when you have a compressed paper frame.
So
you know what I mean?
Didn't mean like, she busted.
No.
It was actually busted.
It fell off the wall and it broke.
Oh.
But that tends to happen with those frames, and that's okay. We were able to clean cut the edges, put them back together, and have nice pretty corners. I suggested we do add a little element to inside the frame to make her artwork pop a little more, and she was very open to that, and we did all that. And I got over there and hung it for her today in her home. That's nice. She loved it. But then she said, Keith, I've got this other framing I need done. How much would it cost? And she showed me what it is, and I quoted her a price, and she went, oh, no, I'm not. I paid for the other twins picture. And so she took me upstairs and showed it to me, and it was a beautiful frame. I said, oh, no, if you want that frame for me, it's going to cost so-and-so dollars.
Right.
And she said, well, my friend framed that, and it didn't cost nearly that. And I went over and tapped on the frame. Well, it was plastic. But it looked great.
Now,
but
how
it was
can you
plastic.
tell plastic from
You
actual?
tap on it, it was like,
It's like a diamond.
it was like, it was hollow. but it looked great. And I told her, I said, there is nothing wrong with this frame. It looks beautiful and it's holding your picture in with glass and everything. But if you ever move and that thing gets pushed the wrong way, or if it falls off the wall or whatever, it's busted in 1,000 pieces and there's no repairing it, and you got to go out and do it all over again.
And start all over.
Yeah.
And sometimes we learn that. We learn that if you skimp if you skimp on the forefront,
Yeah.
it's going to end up costing you
Yeah.
just about double in the long
Well,
run.
and it's those type frames. Sometimes you store them in a basement or an attic, and it's hot, and that frame's going to take a different shape over time. I mean, there is a lot of things to worry about when you're using products like that. But anyway, so back to the framing design. So I have very traditional moldings, but you know what? I've got hot pink glitter frames. I've got beautiful high gloss black and white frames. I've got zebra fabric wrapped
That's awesome.
frames. I've got frames that are wrapped in leather that look like reptile skin. I've got mirror reflective silver frames that are absolutely stunning. I've got high gloss red frames, high gloss black and white frames that are elegantly done and I've got some that look like they're just dripped hot molten lava. It is so cool what they're doing with frames these days. But my philosophy is not to overframe what you're framing, and
Stop right there. Overframe what you're framing.
meaning when you're framing something other than like a mirror or an abstract fun piece of art or something, whatever you're framing, typically you're framing it because it is important to you for some reason or another.
Right.
Be it an original piece of art, be it a photograph of your family, be it a diploma, whatever it is. When you look at it hanging on the wall, do you want to notice the framing first, or do you want to know what the piece is inside the framing? The framing should just present whatever it is.
It's like cream and coffee or coffee and cream.
Yeah, that's right. You want a little coffee with that sugar? That type thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. And a lot of framers out there love to just show off how much they can do with framing material. It just doesn't present the pieces well at all.
Now, see, I like that about you. You're not just trying to show off your talent and what can be done. You are actually into the actual end product.
Well, it's like I say about decorating. You hear me constantly say less is more, because if you have too much going on in whatever you're doing, design-wise, you're going to grow very tired of it very soon. And I don't want people growing tired of my framing designs. I want them to last 20, 30, 40 years, and them know that every time they need something done, they want to come back and see Keith again, And because, thanks y'all, come see Keith. You're so silly.
Now, what are some of the trends that you have held on to? Things try to migrate in ways and fashions and methodology of doing things and completing tasks migrate over time. It's a two-part question. What are some of the improvements that you have made or changes that you have made in your methodology of completing the framing process? And what are some that you just refuse to change? And why do you refuse to change those ways?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I try to ask one every now and then.
I'm telling you what. Well, I'll start with some things that I just love to do over and over and over again. If I'm using matting, which matting is that border around an image and then the frame gets put around that.
Right.
I love, first of all, using fabric matting over paper matting most of the time, unless the piece would benefit better with a paper mat, i.e. a black and white photograph. To me, one of the best ways to present black and white photography is with a big, beautiful, bold, glossy white mat and then a beautiful black frame. And the black frame could be a different shape or texture, whatever the image is requiring. But I typically use fabric mats just because the look of a silk or a suede mat lasts forever. I mean, it will always be rich looking all the time. And so I love that. I think one of the newest things that I love to do over the past but I've really been doing it now for about 10 years, but in the framing industry that's fairly new because custom framing, I mean, I've been custom framing for 34 years. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You know what, everybody? That means that he is right at, I got to do this so I can make sure that we're hearing, but that means that, Keith, you would be right at 36. That is amazing. That is just absolutely
Girl,
amazing.
Flattery will get you absolutely everywhere with me. But no, I love to stack moldings. You can stack picture frames before you, other words, like maybe there's a certain color or texture I want to pull out of an image that I'm framing. So I will use a frame to do that. But then maybe I want a very dressy wood frame to go around that to tie it in with the rest of the furniture or the rest of the framing that's on the wall with it. So I'll cap or stack, what's called stacking another frame on top of a frame. So I've used a small inner frame for a certain color or texture, but then I've come back with a wood or a gold frame around that. Love doing that. I love, before I put those two frames together inside each other, putting the glass in between it so the glass is up off the piece.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's sort of a shadow boxing style, but in an avant-garde way. And I love that.
I'm going to look up avant-garde in just a second. Don't worry about it.
Avant-garde means
I got you covered,
stylish, very different, very unique, cutting edge.
Cutting edge. Avant-garde. Avant-garde. No?
No, I don't think that's where it came
No.
from. It didn't come from a battlefield.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
I'll be back. But one of the
unless it was some gay general, and they were going to have a sash. Avant-garde! I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry.
We're going to come back.
Rein it in.
We got it.
I know we're going to get a message.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You cannot. That wasn't me. That was not me.
It wasn't me.
That wasn't me. One of the things that I enjoy about you is that it's very low in our sound thing, but it's very good up there. One of the things that I admire about you is that you have that signature. Now, everybody, I don't know, I think I've had more jobs than like a Jamaican. I've done a little bit, a little that.
You only got 9 jobs.
I've only got 9. I'm so lazy. One of the things that I learned when I was there is that you did a lot with, what is it called, the millet? Fillets. I was close.
You were.
I was, and I admired that because that was like your border that it was so gorgeous.
That's probably a Keith Sweat signature also. Not that other framers don't use fillets, but I use fillets a lot. I love, and I use them in very unique ways. A fillet is basically another piece of wood that duplicates, it's on a much smaller scale. It's only typically about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch wide. But it duplicates elements of the frame, and you put a fillet inside the mat. So if you can imagine a frame, it has a mat inside of it, and then your picture. But right around the inside of the mat is this fillet. And it's repeating the same color of the wood or some kind of design. Maybe if there's a black bead on the frame, then there'll be a black bead on the fillet. So it repeats an element of the molding, and that just helps bring your eye center to the art piece. But
that is awesome.
I will use a fillet in so many different ways. I love it. I can do what's called a reverse cut on a fillet and frame a picture and float that over another picture inside of a frame. I can use a fillet inside the molding, inside the mat. I don't care. I'll do it. It doesn't matter. I'll break all the rules I can just to
I
get a nice
love
design.
that. Now, when did you, or how did you, or do you remember how exactly you developed your signature style? Like, this is how, when people look at this, they'll say, aha, that's
Right.
a Keith Sweat
Well,
production.
and I will admittedly tell you that things that I framed 10 years ago, I can look at now and go, ooh, I would not have done that today. And it's, I grew up in a frame shop and gallery.
Tell us about that.
Well, you guys, for those of you who don't know, I was raised. I spent most of my sort of 8th grade on up. I always say post puberty, puberty on
I'm
up.
still going through mine.
Right. Good luck. I'm jealous. Okay.
Okay, I'm
From
back.
puberty on up, I was in Valdosta. Great community to grow up in. Fantastic. And through a one of my best friends from high school, her mother found jobs for kids with special needs. And businesses that employed special need kids got employee tax credits. So it helped them. They had a valuable employee, but they were able to have tax credits for employing this person. Well, this young man that worked at this frame shop, during his high school career, he was a senior now and he was graduating, and he no longer could work there because after high school you don't get the tax credits. The employer doesn't get that. And with his disability, and we called it mental handicap back then. We don't use that term. We call it a disability.
And
now.
it was not bipolar. I'm not going to get on the
Right.
same huffy bike, but yeah.
Don't get me on that side. That's a whole different ball of wax.
We
That's a
just
big
had
old
that one
discussion.
yesterday. Ooh. Okay, I'm back. We're back.
But he struggled with his math skills, and in framing you deal with fractions a great deal. And so when my friend's mother, who was the job placement coordinator, when she went back to them and said, okay, Alan's leaving, can I place somebody else with you? And they said, we just don't think we can handle that again, because for 3 years we really, really had issues and had to struggle to assist with all the math calculations. And I guess there were probably a lot of mistakes made and things like that. But I mean, wonderful family running this frame shop, and they were very supportive of everything. So she said, okay, well, how about you want another part-time student?
Right.
And she said that my daughter's friend wants to get his first job and is looking for a place. Most of the kids when we were growing up, they worked at a grocery store or a fast food joint. In South Georgia, they did things like crop tobacco during the summer and
Crop tobacco.
Well, I will tell you, when I first moved from South Florida to South Georgia in my 8th grade year, and the first question out of somebody's mouth was, "So are you going to help us crop tobacco this summer?" And I went, "You what? Are you kidding me?
You don't crop back.
What is bacca?" And they said, tobacco, like cigarettes. I went, "Y'all walk out in a field and you cut tobacco."
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And I had to think about it. In South Florida on the coast, my dad was a commercial fisherman. I worked in a fish house all summer. So it was just whatever industry was in your geographical location, I guess. So anyway, a lot of the kids were going to be cropping tobacco during the summer. And I am going to interview at this frame shop art gallery. Now, I was dumber than dirt and had no idea what a frame was, what a custom frame shop was, or what an art gallery was. But I walked in that back door, and my interview question was, "What is half of 3/8?" And I said 3/16, and he said, "I'll see you Monday."
He answered the question for me because okay, we all know.
Did you not know what that was?
Last.
Did you not know what that was?
I was coming.
Sweetie,
I was just
okay.
trying to divide.
Well, anyway, so that's
out what it
how
was.
I got into this industry. And I grew up in that frame shop, and eventually they branched and opened a second shop, and I went and managed that. And by the end of my last year of college, I had been with them for 8 years. It was sort of time for me to go.
Right.
So that's when I left, and I did 2 internships with interior designers and thought that was going to be something I might go into. And then I got a job in a hotel and fell in love with the hotel industry. And for 15 years, I went off and ran hotels.
Wow.
But what was cool was in opening new hotels, guess who got to help pick out fabrics and carpet and paint and work with the designers, and then got to go pick artwork and got to go to the frame shops and pick framing. And for my hotel in Athens that I opened, I actually got to work with the framers and artists and work in their factory, mass producing and framing all the artwork that went in all the hotel rooms and everything. So it was so much fun. So I still got to dabble in all that. And that's sort of how I got into it.
Trying to read.
So when I bought this frame shop and gallery, I changed everything and converted it to a contemporary art gallery and really took the framing, custom framing up several notches as far as design and products offered, and started doing what I felt like needed to be done. And through a lot of trial and error, a lot of going back into those houses I mentioned earlier and seeing some things that I did that I really wasn't happy with today, I revamped, I just sort of slowly and surely revamped my style, and I've been pretty well doing the same thing now for the last 6 to 8 years, and I'm very happy. And what I had a customer tell me just the other day, she said, Keith, I told her, I said, it's been a long time since we've been together. I haven't done much for you in the last year or so. And she said, I just haven't had anything done, Keith, but nobody matches your framing design and style.
They don't.
And what you do is incredible, and that's why I'll come back to you forever and ever. So that was cool.
I mean, it was amazing. What's amazing about you is that you literally can see, like, I'm a forward thinker. I can think about, the ramifications of what we're doing and the repercussions and, how something will work out. And I can pre-think extra questions so that they're all answered. I can do that.
Uh-huh.
Now, as far as decor and design, I am one of those rooms to go people. Like, give it to me all at one time because of the I cannot, looking at it and seeing it together, I just get overwhelmed.
Well, isn't God good that He didn't give us all the same gifts?
Isn't He awesome?
And He's got you and I sitting across from each other with mics and headsets on, and we're sitting here talking about this, and I can give you content. You know how to take all that content, sweet Danni J, and put it out in the world. You are this vessel of transference of knowledge. You're amazing. So
I cry, y'all, but medication, it kicks in, it still goes in. All night, it's one of those slow time release ones. So it really kicks in right around the same. But, I like the fact that, now, what are some of the things that you are happy that has changed over time with it? Now, I do remember, like, their glass.
Yeah.
You really take a lot of time in the glass
that
that
was
they're
the
using.
first thing I was about to mention when you said that. Glass. The glass has come so far, and when I bought the shop, I had been away from the industry for a while, and I got to dabble in it. But when I bought the shop and really was getting invested again, literally and figuratively, I was invested. They had all this UV filtered glass, and they had it with all these different finishes, and the best glass that they have is what's called mirror or museum glass, and it is chemically treated to reduce reflection. Regular picture frame glass, almost you can call it mirror glass. You see reflections in it like a mirror.
Right.
Then they came up with, back in my old days when we started, we call it non-glare. Now they call it conservation reflection control.
Okay.
And it's an etched glass that refracts light that comes into it. So you don't get the mirror-like images, but it's somewhat distorted and fuzzed over, so to speak. But museum glass is clear, but it's chemically treated, and you get no reflection out of it, which is so cool. you hardly even know there's glass.
You want to pause and go get it?
No, that's okay.
Okay, I didn't know what was going on. He's waving at it.
I'm pointing to some framing that I've got, and those particular pieces happen to have museum on them. But
it was so depressing when I walked in and I couldn't fix my lipstick. It's just so bad.
That's why that big 5 foot by 5 foot dining room mirror is hanging. I did this, and everybody knows your face goes backwards when you're looking up at it. But I mean, when I walked into Keith's, one of the first shops that you were in, when I walked into it, one of the things that grabbed me was the mirror, and it's just amazing that frame. Oh, yeah.
That you use with that. That frame was absolutely phenomenal and sturdy to be able to withstand all of that weight from them.
What she's talking about is that the frame was floating above the sales counter.
Yes.
At sort of a weird angle, but it was literally suspended by chains on each corner and floating at sort of an angle, opened up to the customer as they walk in. They could see themselves approaching the counter, and it was very cool. It was
it really was absolutely awesome. Here's one of the now. This is how I am. What is something that you absolutely refuse to change, no matter how the trends evolve with framing? What is something that you're like absolutely married to?
Ooh, let me think. Well, I will never let glass touch whatever is being framed. And what I mean is, have you seen, I know you have, everybody has, a photograph that's been in a picture frame behind and it's stuck to the glass?
Yeah, you try to pull it and it just
rips the picture to death. That's because whatever is sitting against the glass, with humidity changes, moisture will develop. But if there's not a space for it to evaporate, then that moisture causes that piece to stick to the glass over time. Yeah. It can't go anywhere. Wow. So a photograph emulsifies basically right on the glass. But
once again, we'll look that word up in a minute. Don't get discouraged.
But if you've got a document that's sitting right against glass, say a diploma, a college diploma, if it's sitting right against the glass and the humidity changes for various reasons. You could go out of town and turn your units off. Well, temperature changes inside your home. Moisture could build up behind those trapped areas. That can cause mold and mildew on paper products, things like that. So that's one thing I will never do, is I will never frame anything and allow it to touch the glass. And if a customer wants that done, there are times I've said you just need to go somewhere else. Because a lot of things they won't want to pay for what I use. If I'm not using matting or doing a shadow box or something where I've used strips to hold the product up, I'll use what's called glass spacers, and you can't even see them. And they go between the glass and the piece, and it holds the glass up off of it anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. That's all you need. So that's one of the things I will never do.
Have you done your first Hello Kitty room yet with that little shiny pink?
I have not. That glistening.
Oh, yes. That is the perfect Hello Kitty.
But you know what I think I will use that molding for the first time?
What?
Is I want to make up a bunch of little frames and give them away while I'm doing the Relay for Life breast cancer.
Oh, that would be so
Wouldn't that be
awesome.
great for people? Because people always take pictures of them with their number and their teammates and all that. And to have that pink frame, or maybe set up a table and sell them, and half the proceeds,
Yes.
half the proceeds will just cover my costs, and all the profits would go to
that would do it.
Relay for Life. So
that would be absolutely
but
awesome.
I'm co-captain of a team this year.
Get out.
Henry Players has their own team.
Henry Players.
Yeah.
I miss my family. I miss them dreadfully.
But and I am the co-captain with my co-captain Jasmine Huey. Hey, Jazz. And Jazz and I are gonna do this year, and the theme is heroes.
When a hero comes along. There's a theme song for everything. I'm sorry.
I need a hero.
Yeah, that one too.
Batman.
He was a hero.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
And I think superheroes are going to be played up a lot.
Oh.
So what we're toying with is doing super villains, but saying villains can become heroes too for Relay for Life. So I don't know, something like that. But you set up a tent, and you stay all night. It's really this big old outdoor event. It is crazy, and you just walk around the track all night long.
Now, everybody, those who don't know, Keith is actively involved in everything.
Too much. I mean, yes, I am.
Wait, what? There's no edit. There's no
Freudian
filter. Wait,
slip,
what?
sorry.
But he is actively involved in so many things that's going on, especially in this community. And Henry Players, he mentioned Henry Players, and that is how Keith and I met.
That is how we met, isn't it?
And we latched onto each other, and we have never let go. And it has been one of the highlight of my life, was just meeting you and just being able to. Our adventures never cease. They just go. I used to have my own room, everybody. I would come and stay the night and have my own room.
That's right. That's when we were in the big house.
That's when we were in the big house. We went to the big house. So, but Keith, I know you don't want to. We never, ever downgrade anyone else's product or anyone else's services on the show.
No.
Ever. That's just not something that we
I just
uphold.
thought philosophy of life. I don't think you need to degrade anybody to promote thyself.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just crazy.
You can't get any higher on your own merit, and you're just not trying hard enough.
Yeah, you need to give it up.
Yeah, just give it up. Do something else. Throw a ball. Get a hobby. Here's my thing, though. What would you tell? There are certain people that are looking for ways of expressing themselves. What is a good method of expressing yourself through framing? And what are something like, you have some of the same pictures that have frames and some of them that don't. Like, how do you know? What will tell you what is a good key of things that will need to be framed and be framed immediately, versus some that doesn't?
I think framing is a very personal and passionate luxury. It really is. If you have something special, no matter what it is, it could be that paper doily place setting from Red Lobster that they used to do. remember that they used to do years ago?
That was before I got allergic to seafood, but y'all.
Or Shoney's, or
if
Golden
he mentioned
Corral.
One more place that is closed, that's it.
I know. But I think it's whatever personal value you have, that dictates what you're going to frame. And I have framed everything from a quarter to a Bible, to, of course, a christening gown, to photographs, to documents, diplomas, etc., to a postcard. I have framed a placemat from a restaurant. This couple met there. And, I have framed neckties.
I want to let everybody know I tried to get money framed, but it just didn't last.
She broke the glass.
Just didn't work for me.
But back to that first part of your question when you started, your lead in for this was self-expression.
Yes.
There are so many fun things that you can do with expressing yourself in a unique way and framing it. From all those things I just mentioned. But some of the more unique things are, you find a fabric that is absolutely amazing looking.
Right.
I can stretch that, put some batting behind it so it puffs out a little bit, and put that in a frame, and you can hang that right on the wall. Just think about some of the cool fabrics you've seen. Think about taking 6 different fabric patterns, framing them all in a 12 by 12 square with these unique frames, and putting them in a grouping hanging on the wall together. What a wonderful design and texture that would be on that wall. You could also take, if a child, and I know I know parents that allow this to happen, and if you do, that's fine. If you allow your child to draw on the walls of your home, and they do
Without a
something
beating.
right, it's allowed. I mean, it's a, I've seen
Yeah.
I've seen it happen,
Yeah.
and maybe that's something they do something that is just outstanding. You can literally take a frame with some glass, put some glass in it, hang that frame right on the wall so that that area becomes a piece of framed art.
Once you do that, you have to like go tap their hands when they try to do something. That's no, no, baby. We already got a masterpiece.
And
No,
don't,
we're
yeah, that's
good.
right. But you can take, wall. You've seen vinyl lettering that's done on walls now,
Yes.
which is very cool. You can literally get pictures done and stick that on the wall, then just put a frame, hang a frame loosely around that. It makes a very cool statement.
A lot of things. Now, this is one of the questions that we got a few minutes left, so I wanted to ask this question: what has been the most endearing and touching frame job that you have done in your 34 years?
Ooh. Um, well, on a personal note, I found a newspaper article of my grandmother's engagement announcement from the San Antonio Times. Now, my mother and her sisters are very, very strong women, and they are all a direct byproduct of my grandmother, who was an extremely strong woman. Um, and so there's a great deal of love and respect for this matriarch of our family.
Right.
And she had been dead for several years, but I found this article, and I took it to Scott, the image doctor, who does photo restoration. He's located in the same space with me now.
10 Macon Street, McDonough,
10 Macon
Georgia.
Street, McDonough, Georgia. But he does beautiful photo restoration, as you know. But this was years ago when he and I were running things back and forth to each other across the county. So now we run things back and forth across the aisle, which is wonderful.
Your catch.
But he took this newspaper article and he enhanced it and brought back a lot of the original patina of the newspaper. And I framed that up and gave each one of the sisters and my mother that as a gift. So to me, that is one of probably my most personal thing I've done. Some of the treasures that I have framed that have really pulled my heartstrings. It's always about a relationship of some sort. Unfortunately, I've had the honor, I won't say displeasure, but I've had the honor of framing a photograph extremely quickly for a memorial for somebody that's passed, for a funeral. I love when that's a good question, because here's something I just thought about. Somebody comes in with a pack of photographs, especially of a loved one that's passed, and says, I don't know what to do with this. And I will take those 50 photographs and I will present those in the frame where they're multi-leveled, layered over each other, overlapping. Just do this wonderful collection so that when you look at it, you get a sense of that person's life, the journey they were on. I love doing that.
Wow.
Really, that's really cool.
I like being a part. I mean, every time I think about stuff like that, I think about the framing that you did for my grandma.
Uh-huh.
And my granddaddy had just passed. And, well, he had passed like a year before, a year or two ago. And it's amazing. Like, he's sitting there in his jubilant pose. He used to have this water jug that he used to always drink out of, and that jubilant pose. And the way you cut it out and you just put it in there, no one could see it coming together like you did. And it's those parts that you get to be. It's sort of like God has allowed you to be a part of people's memories, and sometimes it's not so much the payback, but it's that part that you get to share with it. And
well, I get to help capture it, I guess, and capture it in a way that it's going to stay that moment forever. because I mean, if you're going to do custom framing, and custom framing is costly, but custom framing should be done in a way that it preserves whatever it's being framed. And there are frame shops out there that don't use 99% UV filtered glass, or they might not use pH neutral matting or pH neutral backing boards. And that's okay. That's the decision they've made for their shop, and it's a lower price point, and that needs to be available out there for people. But I chose a long time ago that, it's going to cost everybody a little bit more to come to my shop to do this, but it's going to be done in a way that it is going to last forever. Right. And that makes me feel good.
And see, that's at the end of the day, once you know that you've been a part of something that changes or makes a difference or gave somebody exactly what they came in there for, that's the measure of success.
It's cool. I love it.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to
yet
another episode of The Sweeter Point of View presents Simple Things About Style. This is but as the more and more that we talk and the more we do the show, everybody gets to see how I've absolutely fallen in love with him and don't stand a chance.
So sorry.
But everybody sees how much I get to fall in love with Keith, and more I do believe that the world is falling in love with you as well.
Oh, thank you.
And so I really appreciate, once again, everybody just coming in and joining us today for our fireside chat. And it's a little fly, it's flickering. It's a little flicker. You don't see it. It's a little flicker. A little singe. Is that what it's called? A little singe. Everybody.
I tried.
Next week is absolutely awesome because we'll be broadcasting on the square.
It's Ladies' Night Out on the Square, everybody. Y'all need to come down to the Square.
And we're doing what, Seasons Bistro?
We're going to be at Seasons Bistro live. And so, ladies, you need to get on down to the Square with your girlfriends and your sisters. And make sure you drop into Seasons Bistro, and we will put you in front of a microphone.
Yes.
And we will be asking you to ask us questions. So please come by.
Please, everybody, come join the fun. I am your sweet. Before next Thursday, next Wednesday, be sure to tune in to Legal Wednesdays with the last living conservative, the Joe Weeks, who has a firm in Avondale Estates, Georgia, and he joins us every Wednesday to answer all of your questions about just everything, and we do a legal spin on everything. And make sure that you stop by if you're in the Henry County area. Please, you would be so remiss I don't know how to use the word.
Yep.
Remiss. That's what I was thinking. Okay. Not to stop by and see Scott the Image Doctor, and the beloved Keith Sweat. Now, he may
Please
not
come
be
by.
there. Please come by. It is located at 10 Macon Street, McDonough, Georgia, 30253.
That's it.
And your phone number?
678-583-1222. The number again, 678-583-1222. Wasn't that good?
That was absolutely
Good night, everybody. Love
Good
you
night,
guys.
everybody. Please remember that the world that you see around you is a mere reflection of how you see your inner self. If you would like to experience a sweeter life, it must first begin with a sweeter point of view. So until next time, be sweet to others, but most importantly, be sweet to yourself. Bye-bye.